Andy, glad to have you back. Lots of things to talk about, ins and outs, transfers, Erling Haaland and Donny van der Beek.
I think the transfer window has been really encouraging for United. I think Varane is one of the best central defenders in the world. I watched him a lot in Spain for Real Madrid, watched him this year in person, as have Manchester United. He didn't actually play well in the 2 games that United scouted him, but he's one of the best central defenders in the world with the trophies to prove that. When he signed, I spoke to people who knew him very well. I spoke to Patrice Evra about him and he just said he's the complete defender. Reminds him of Rio Ferdinand. So I'm buzzing that he signed, that it was done relatively quickly and for a fee, which I don't think any United fans expected it to be so low.
A giveaway in this.
Yeah, I mean, you can see why, because Madrid had to do one thing or another, and United understood for a long time that he wanted to move to United, but were also very wary of being played because other Madrid players had said, we want to join you, and when push came to shove, the best example would be Sergio Ramos. United did the paperwork for him and everything.
Without a doubt.
And he bottled it.
Yeah.
The lawyer was waiting in Beijing, and Sergio Ramos bottled it. Varane didn't. Looking forward to seeing him play him. I don't think it'll just be a straight shoe-in for Lindelof. I've spoke to people at the club. Lindelof is very highly rated. I think Ollie feels that with 3 top central defenders, and he thinks Lindelof's a top central defender.
I do.
Gives him more options. He can play a 3 or a 5 at times. United are hoping to play a lot of games this season, so you're not reliant. And if one of them gets injured, I'd be less certain about the future of the other central defenders. But I'm buzzing off Varane. Sancho, same again. He went to Germany. I saw him in Dortmund. Saw him play this year for Dortmund in Seville. And that was a really exciting team with Haaland and with Jude Bellingham. And he's young. His statistics are good. He's played a lot of top-level games. I admire the fact that he had the balls to go to Germany as a kid because he wasn't getting what he wanted at City. And I think United called it right not paying all that money for him last year. We'll never know, had he come last year for that fee, if United would have won anything. We'll never know the answer to that. But those 2 signings are players for now. They're not for the future. It's not like last year signing Palestre or Ahmad, talented players for the future. They're players for now, to improve United for now. That's what the manager wanted, put a proper title challenge in, and he's got to win something.
When Ollie signed, he said some players what are here will be on the journey and some won't. Is there players still there now what Ollie is considering transferring?
Yeah, of course there is. The squad's too big. The wage bill's too big. There are players there who are not going to get the minutes they want. If you're a professional footballer, you want to play professional football. So what has happened in previous years, maybe a good example would be Andreas Pereira. The manager says, I want you to stay, and he gets to the end of August and he's not featured in any of the matchday squads. And for his own professional pride, he moves. And he goes to Spain or he went to Italy. And I think there's probably 5 players in similar positions. One will end up staying longer and coming good. One might be sold. The problem you've got is it's a depressed market for transfers. They earn a lot of money by virtue of being at Manchester United.
Yeah.
There's not a huge demand for a lot of these players because they've not been standout stars at United. And if they had done, they would be sold. So maybe look at Chris Smalling as an example of a player who successfully moved abroad for a loan fee, did really well in Italy. And then a year on, United then had a player who they could sell for a lot more money than they could when he wasn't really playing. And from his perspective, he went to Ollie and said, what's my situation this year? And he said, I like you, I want you to stay. You're unlikely to be playing more than 25 games. And he wanted to be playing 45 games. So he moved on. So I think the names that we know are more likely to leave. You know, Jesse Lingard would be more likely to leave than Bruno Fernandes. Does that mean he's definitely going? No, it doesn't, because he's clearly a good player, as he proved at West Ham. But from United's perspective, they need a squad to fight for the league, Champions League. I thought United were pretty lucky last year with injuries. And with there wasn't that many COVID positive cases.
There's not many
United.
incidents, was there? Injuries, COVID, you're right.
Look at Liverpool. You know, they were battered. Their defence was absolutely battered by injuries, and United's wasn't.
I think it was just more fatigue with United at the end.
Towards the end it was, because they didn't have a pre-season, because you saw Ollie's favourite 11 and he relied on that a bit too much. They were knackered. You could see it in the games towards the end. And he made a big play of fitness in 2019, but you can't have fitness if you've got no pre-season. He's got more of a pre-season now.
The only injury, really, was Maguire at the end.
Yeah, and I think that showed how good Maguire is because people missed him. I spoke to Vidic about Maguire, and he said he's like 8 out of 10 at everything. Very good, 8 out of 10 at everything.
Yeah.
Is he as fast as Rio? No. Is he as good on the ball as Rio was? No. Is he as good in the air as Vidic was? No. But he's a solid, improving defender. Did well for England, doing well for United. Put probably a superior defender next to him, and that defence is starting to look good. When you add in a much improved Luke Shaw, and it looks even better.
Going back to transfers out, maybe a lot of players aren't going to be sold. Plenty of loan signings out there, Andy. Is that the way this club's going to deal with that size of squad? Because there's a lot of young players out there who are raring to get in this first team.
You've got two things. You've got the experienced players on the bigger contracts who need to go out on loan to play football, to play more games. And then you've got the younger lads like Garner, who went out on loan last year, did very well at Forest, and will probably need to go out on loan again this year to a Premier League club rather than a Championship club. And if he can prove at a mid-table Premier League club that he's a top defender, then he's on the right trajectory. You've got other young players. You mentioned Ahmad Palestre. He went to Alaves, played La Liga football, very high standard. He wasn't doing that at United. Nothing was really happening much for him at United. The whole situation was complicated by some of those players who were shifting between the first team bubble and the 23s bubble. So you had players going to away matches separately and unable to work with the players. They travel. It became really complicated. So Ollie's got to do a decent job, and I think he does that, of balancing the needs of his players, keeping in touch with them. I think he's fair. I don't think he's snide. You know, he'll just be honest with players. You've got to be honest. You've got to be tough, because ultimately the decisions are going to drop with him. And what he needs this year is for him. He needs to be in a very strong position where United continue to improve and start winning trophies.
On that note, Chelsea, Man United, Man City, all looking for strikers.
I think United are looking good up front. Cavani stayed. That was a big deal because he'd asked to leave in March.
Yeah, fantastic deal.
Rashford, Martial. That's on the assumption that all of these will stay. You've got Sancho. You've got Fernandes, who was a top scorer last year. Paul Pogba, who's been the club's top scorer, and other players who can chip in as well. Got Mason Greenwood, who continues to improve. I'm excited about United strike force for next season. What happens when Cavani leaves? A number 9 will probably become United's focus. Haaland, United have tried to sign him before, and for various reasons haven't done. I spoke to people at Real Madrid last week around the Varane stuff. They were under the impression that one of the reasons they sold Varane was to get money in the bank to buy Mbappe or Haaland. I'd say that Real Madrid is still more attractive to most footballers than Manchester United.
Just let me stop you there one sec. Chelsea got the money, Man City got the money.
Yeah. Look at their ownership.
Yeah, I know. To me, and lots of people out there, and we've had lots of comments, we see Haaland as a long-term objective. 65 million.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that. Don't forget, people are forgetting as well. Another 40-odd million for the agent fees and all that. So good luck with it.
I think if you asked Haaland now, who would you like to join at this stage in your career? He would say Madrid or Barcelona. Barca have got very well documented financial issues. I think if he went to Spain, he'd score loads of goals.
Yeah.
Because he'd be so dominant there.
Yeah.
I think he wouldn't get the same number of goals in England at the moment. And I could see why he wants to go to Spain. And also Madrid, people are saying Madrid have got massive financial issues. Not really. The stadium money is kept aside from their transfer budget. They've had to make big cutbacks. They've had to sell Varane.
Yeah.
They've got 2 years of being sensible and not like Madrid, but they're still expected to bring in a massive signing this year or next year. Would Ollie like Haaland right now? Of course he would. Every manager in the world would. The power's moving more towards the Premier League, but Real Madrid still remains a massive pull for almost every footballer in the world. Lukaku, it's mad, isn't it, looking at him coming back now, given the opinion a lot of United fans would have about him. Kane's a world-class centre-forward. I think United's priorities this summer were not a striker. Once Cavani said he's staying. I'd love to see Cavani play in the first 2/3 of this season like he played in the last third of last season. He's brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant.
He's absolutely brilliant.
He is.
I'm told he's only expected to play starting 60% of the matches. But
quite right with his age and that.
I'm not uneasy about.
No, why should we be?
United's forwards this season. I'd love to see if Martial's going to stay. He's got to do a lot more. But there'll always be one of them out the 5 or 6 I've mentioned who needs to do a lot more. So looking at it now in August 21, it would be looking like Cavani moves on in a year, then United look for another number 9. But they don't grow on trees. They're difficult players to get hold of to that level.
If we don't get Haaland, who's the other choice? You let us know. The situation with Donny van der Beek, the questions were, was it Ollie's man? Was he a signing because we ended up pulling out the Grealish because it was too dear and he was just an option and the club bought him, not Ollie? To me, and lots of people out there, he didn't get a fair crack at it.
I'll tell you some of the reasons.
Well, that's why I'm asking you. You know, you're not going to shy away from it.
I remember a chat a year ago and coming away from that chat with someone at the club thinking, they're not thinking that Van der Beek's going in the first team here, and being a bit, well, why have United bought him? I think fans were excited because he was a new signing, because he'd done well for Ajax, he played well in a very good team in the Champions League, and suddenly he's not used. So it's my job to ask questions, why? I was told that he struggled with the physical side of English football. I also spoke to Steven Pienaar, who'd gone from Ajax to Everton, but he went via Dortmund, and he said it was key for him to go to Germany, then England, because the jump from Holland to England was too big.
The gap's too...
For a slight player.
Physical.
I mean, it wasn't a problem for Jaap Stam or for Ruud van Nistelrooy, but for certain types of players. And I was told that for Van der Beek, he struggled with the physical side of things. And he didn't have a good first season. And I watched him closely in a lot of games. I remember watching him at Watford at home in the Cup over there. And he was really average. And you're thinking, you're getting a chance, you've got to stand out, not be 6 out of 10. And he was 6 out of 10. I'd like to think that what happens to him will be similar to Fred. Fred had a terrible first season. In fact, a pretty terrible 3 months of the second season. Then he came good. Then he was man of the match against City away in a derby win. So there's a good player there with Donny. Confidence, physical, nutrition. I'm told he's a good lad. I don't know him. You could get these ingredients working in his favour rather than the situation going against him. He's got to do more than he did last year.
We agree on that.
Did Ollie identify him and sign him? I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know the answer. And, you know, when Fred was at his lowest point, people were coming to me going, you find out who's identified Fred. And no one wanted to take responsibility for it. And when Fred was man of the match a few weeks later, quite a few people wanted to take responsibility for it. So you're in a very fickle, subjective industry in football.
It's the world. Andy, that's the world.
There's a lot of versions of the truth. Yeah, I did my part in the Fred signing, yeah. Oh, did you? You weren't saying that a month ago.
No. So you think the same will happen here if he turns the form round?
I'd love to see him do well. I watched him play in one of the best games of football I've seen in the last 5 years, when Ajax went to Real Madrid, European champions, in the Bernabeu and battered them. And I was in the stadium, and it was brilliant because I wasn't bothered who won either way. I'm just there as a journalist.
Watching football.
It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. And Van der Ligt was fantastic. We know some of these Ajax players, Frenkie de Jong, and Donny van der Beek was brilliant. So I'd love him. Look, de Jong has become Barcelona's second best player or third best player. De Ligt went to Juventus and he took time to settle. I'd love to see Van der Beek come good for Manchester United.
Well, we all would.
And of course we would.
Let us know what you think about the Donny van der Beek. He's bulking up now and it does take time. So we've got to be patient. That's right, isn't it, Andy?
I think we have been patient. I think second season he's got to perform. If you get to the end of your second season and you're not doing it, then patience runs out.
Patience runs out. Andy, we look forward to you coming back at some point.
Hope it's not as long as last time.
You let me know out there with your comments. If you'd like Andy back, he doesn't just deal with Manchester United, but he has access to Ollie. And sometimes, like you are going to do the next one, you're going to ask him a question on behalf of Webby and O'Neill, aren't you?
I'll see. I mean, he's decent, and I find with him, when he's doing his media stuff, he's quite guarded because he's got to be.
He has to be.
And that's a shame because...
Well, they're ready to pull him down. They're ready to pull this club down. That's what the media in general is all about.
He's just got to be cautious. And it's a shame because when he goes off the record,
Yeah.
he's sound.
Yeah.
He's absolutely sound.
Yeah.
You can have a laugh with him. Remember when he was at Cardiff?
Well, he's a human being, Andy.
But he's got a good humour. Remember when he was at Cardiff and a player had rang me, and this is odd, this isn't normal, and said, can you ring Ollie for me? I want to play for him at Cardiff. And this was a lad who'd played under him for United's 23s. I rang him, I said, this is an odd one, this Ollie. He went, whoa, just before I take your call. Good to hear from you, Andy. I've been reading your stuff. He said, if I'm ever looking to get my head down and fall asleep, I just get one of your articles and in 10 minutes I'm away. And I thought, I like that. He's giving it you, you know?
Well, do you know what? On that note, because I don't want you lot falling asleep out there, thanks for coming, Andy.
Thanks,
Absolute
Tony.
pleasure.
Nice to see you. Thanks, everybody.
Press the likes, leave us a comment, and press that notification. Thank you very much. Andy, pleasure.